And amid ongoing peace talks and reduced transport flow through the Strait of Hormuz, the United States and Iran clashed at the United Nations on Monday over Tehran's nuclear program and its selection to be one of dozens of vice presidents at a months-long conference to review the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. The 11th conference to review implementation of the NPT, which came into force in 1970, began on Monday at the United Nations in New York. Different groups nominated 34 conference vice presidents, and the conference chair, Vietnam's UN ambassador Do Hang Viet, said Iran was picked by the group of non-aligned and the other states. The United Nations chief, António Guterres, led a chorus of diplomats urging a fuller opening of the vital waterway.
I urge member states to support the emergency evacuation framework prepared by the International Maritime Organization, a coordinated plan to ensure the safe movement, assistance and protection of effective crews in full accordance with international law. Mr. President, the Charter's prohibition of the threat or use of force applies fully at sea. Navigational rights and freedoms through the Strait of Hormuz must be respected, as affirmed by this Council's Resolution 2817. These principles must be upheld in full and without delay. I appeal to the parties: open the strait, let ships pass, no tolls, no discrimination, let trade resume, let the global economy breathe.
Meanwhile, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi met with Russian President Vladimir Putin in St. Petersburg after visiting Islamabad twice in 2 days, a meeting in Muscat, Oman. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, Presidential aide Yuri Ushakov and Igor Kostyukov, head of the main intelligence directorate of the General Staff of the Russian Armed Forces, also attended the meeting. Representatives on the Iranian side included Deputy Foreign Minister Kazem Garibabadi and Iranian Ambassador to Russia Kazem Jalali. During the meeting, Putin said Moscow intends to continue developing strategic relations with Iran, is willing to make efforts to help secure peace in the West Asia at an early date, and hopes that the Iranian people will pass through the current period of trials. Araghchi said relations between Russia and Iran would continue to strengthen and thanked Putin for Moscow's support. He said that the strategic partnership between Iran and Russia will be strengthened and that the Iranian people with their courage are capable of resisting American aggression. And for more, we have DD India's Akhilesh Suman joining us. Well, Akhilesh, good morning. The proposed reopening of the Strait of Hormuz now before addressing Iran's nuclear program appears to diverge from Washington's stated priorities earlier. And simultaneously, it's being said Trump's bottom line demands remains the same. How might this overall affect the scenario?
Lipakshi, actually yesterday, if you go through the proceedings of United Nations Security Council meeting, United Nations Security Council meeting took a very stern, position on this, the Strait of Hormuz. And French foreign minister, France is normally it is very, cool and calm about Iran.
Right.
But French foreign minister in Security Council meeting said that Iran has to make a major concession. So in that way, you can understand that the whole world opinion is going against Iran because of the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Though the French foreign minister said that, the attack was wrong by, American and Israeli forces over Iran. But he also said that the way Iran is doing with the Strait of Hormuz, it is not justified. And in that way, the French foreign minister also said that it should be opened as soon as possible. So you can understand that they are talking, the Western and now Americans are talking to each other in the same tone, that the Strait of Hormuz should be open.
Right.
The French foreign minister also said about Iran has to think about its, processed nuclear material. So in that way, there is a convergence now coming between West and America. The American representative in the United Nations Security Council, he also said that, it is like a plunder in the sea, that you are stopping the Strait of Hormuz. And he also said that, processed material must be, taken away from Iran. Even though Iran representative was telling that Iran had the right on Strait of Hormuz because USA and Iran both did not have ratified, unclosed the law of seas. So in that way, they are telling that they have a right to regulate the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian speaker also has said like that. But in between, Lipakshi, if you go through the whole situation now, Abbas Araqchi is talking to each other, to everyone in the region also. He talked to Saudi, he talked to Omanis, he talked to other regional leaders on whom Iranians were bombing earlier. He went to Moscow and he went to St. Petersburg and talked to President Putin. But so the whole situation is quite in a flux because Iranians are not committing anything on the nuclear material, even though they are telling that they are open to opening the Strait of Hormuz if they are giving the guarantee of there is no attack over Iran again. So they have tried to take the whole situation on a Strait of Hormuz, not on processed nuclear material. So that is why USA is quite disappointed. They are telling that the proposal that has been sent by Iranians through Pakistani mediators is not right, is not good. And bottom line of USA is that Iran should get rid of its processed nuclear material. So a stalemate is continuing, Lipakshi, and there is no possible solution looking in the arena. The mediators are feeling helpless because Iranians have very stern position, Americans have very stern position, and the whole world is getting trapped in this fight between USA and Iranians. The whole energy cycle is getting disturbed of the whole world. Logistical cycle is getting disturbed on the whole world. Stock markets are coming down. So I think UN might be facilitating somehow, as we heard that United Nations Security Council Secretary General was speaking about Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz immediately. The General Assembly President, even General Assembly President is in Delhi today, and she will have a whole press conference today, and maybe she will tell something about a UN initiative on the question of Strait of Hormuz and other issues in the region. So we have to see and assess that what Iranians are going to do, because the ball is in the court of Iranians. US bottom line remains the same. Iranians have just a checkmate of a Strait of Hormuz.
All right, so the whole world is definitely into a trap right now, and we have to see what happens next. Thank you so much, Akhilesh, for all that update.